Thanks for everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Bully Resistance Show. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that there's two ways that you can actually help me continue the fight against bullying in the public schools. First, if you haven't subscribed to the Bully Resistance Show, it doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is just go to my website at www.davebond.org, and you'll see the banner and that says subscribe, and all you have to do is just click on that. The second way that you can help, you can be a monthly sponsor as low as $4 per month, and in return, you're going to get a free weekly digital download of a track of mine or a song of mine from the CDs that I have out, and also a monthly digital download CD. Now this way, you're not just giving money away, but you're getting something in return. So all you have to do is just go to my website at www.davebond.org, scroll down and click on the Patreon banner, and it's going to take you to get you or to give you some more information about that. So with no further ado, sit back and enjoy the next Bully Resistance Show. The Bully Resistance Show is brought to you by Parkersburg Jiu-Jitsu, a Pedro Sauer affiliate located in Vienna, West Virginia. Go to parkersburgbjj.com, or you can call 740-591-2706. And if you mention the Bully Resistance Show, you're going to receive 2 free weeks of training in self-defense and also a private lesson from one of our instructors. Restrictions do apply. The Bully Resistance Show is brought to you by Planet Fitness, located in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Marietta, Ohio. They strive to create a workout environment where everyone feels accepted and respected. That's why at Planet Fitness in Parkersburg and Marietta, they take care to make sure their club is clean and welcoming. Their staff is friendly. There's certified trainers. Everything's there. So whether you're a first-time gym user or a fitness veteran, you always have a home in their judgment-free zone.
Welcome, everyone, to the Bully Resistance Show with David Wells, nationally known smooth jazz artist, CEO and co-founder of the Chocolate Jazz Foundation, and the co-host of a 2-hour syndicated radio program called Chocolate Jazz Radio. Bully Resistance is a weekly 1-hour show that's a motivational, informative, and inspirational program. We will have interviews with musicians, actors, government officials, politicians, psychologists, counselors, and just average day citizens. Of course, the topics will include making right choices, never giving up desire, discipline, determination, bullying in public school, the workplace, and in your community, bully resistance and prevention, self-defense, jiu-jitsu, and current affairs, and much, much more. And if you're ready, we are. Here's your host, David Wells.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Bully Resistance Show with David Wells. My name is David, and today we have a record producer, educator, and a recipient of 5 Grammy Awards. He started playing the bass at the age of 2, not 9, 15, 26, but 2 years old. He has also won the Bass Player of the Year award from the Bass Player magazine 3 times, and it is the first person to win the award more than once. He's also the bassist for Béla Fleck and the Flecktones since the group started in 1987 or 88. And then one of the things that I think is amazing, and that we'll be talking a lot on, is that in the year 2000, he started a camp near Nashville, Tennessee, that has over 150 acres. And so for more information, if you want to, while you listen to the podcast, you can go to wootenwoods.org and just look at all the pictures. And it's just like a first-class retreat center. And you can do weddings, and he does retreats there and camps and everything there. So at this time, I wanted to introduce Victor Wooten on the Bully Resistance Show. Victor, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hey, David, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Thanks. So you live in Nashville, is that correct? But you're
that is correct.
Okay, but you're in California right now.
Correct. Yes.
So what are you doing in California?
Well, I am here for the NAMM show.
Oh.
Which is the National Association of Music Merchants.
Okay.
And it's a big music convention that happens every January. And it actually starts tomorrow, but the day before it starts, the companies have their parties and gatherings for all their distributors and sellers around the world.
Okay.
And then they'll bring a few artists in like me to to just hang out, maybe a little playing.
Right.
But then I'll here all weekend, hanging out at the booths of different companies and helping them sell some gear.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Victor, before we go any further, can you just give us a little bit more background, of yourself? Where you're born and raised, about your family, your brothers, and how you actually got started into music?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm the youngest of 5 brothers.
Okay.
That all play music. And we are the product of 2 amazingly wonderful parents. My dad, who was in the military, so we moved around a lot.
Okay.
And we were all born in different states. And so for me, I was actually born in Idaho when my dad was stationed there.
Okay.
But I think we were there probably a year or less by the time I came along. So I don't remember anything about Idaho.
What, not to interrupt you, what branch of the military was he in?
He was in the Army at first, and the way I understand the story, and again, I know really very little about it.
Okay.
I think while he was in the Army, and he actually fought in the Korean War on the ground in the Army, I think after that they invented the Air Force, or maybe it was the Army Air Corps or whatever, but he ended up in the Air Force, in the Air Force branch.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So when I was around, we lived on or near a lot of Air Force bases.
Okay.
In Idaho, where I was born, we eventually moved to Hawaii, which is where I started playing the bass.
Okay.
But I didn't even go to school in Hawaii, so that's how young I was.
Wow.
But that's where I started playing music with my brothers. And then in, I don't know, maybe 1970 or so, 69 probably, 68, 69, we moved to Sacramento, California. And that's where I started school, and that's where the 5 of us brothers actually started gigging and doing live shows and things like that.
Okay.
So I've been doing music my whole life with my brothers. I've been fortunate to have been, just really born into a musical family and been included into it. So I've never not done this music thing. I've never not done it.
Right. Let me mention this to you. One of the things that fascinates me about you, as I was doing a lot more research, and of course, you got a God-given gift, and also being an amazing musician and a businessman. But when I was on your website a couple months, I saw how you put this 150-acre getaway retreat. So the kids can come and play music and get away from all their worries and be around top-notch musicians, and it's incredibly amazing. And what you're doing there is, it's just people like you that can be a mentor to kids that can look up to somebody like you that can motivate them. But anyway, can you tell me why you actually started this huge project in Nashville, or near Nashville, I guess?
Sure. Yeah. From my brothers and my parents, I've learned to love the act and the art of sharing information and helping other people become better at being who they are. So, in the early 90s, I started taking some outdoor classes, some nature classes from a man named Tom Brown Jr. He's known as the Tracker. He's written a bunch of books, and he's affected millions of people around the world.
Right.
And I read his first book called The Tracker, and I just got hooked. And I told myself, if this Tom guy is a real person, I need to find him. I found him, signed up for some classes, and for about 10 years, from 91 to 2001, I took classes from him and learned about the outdoors. But as I was studying with him, and he's talking about nature and awareness and tracking and wide-angle vision and all this fun stuff, in my mind, I was telling myself, this guy's talking about music. He's calling it something different, but this is music.
Right.
And more than him just talking about music, this is how music should be learned. We're outdoors. We're actively doing things. We're not just learning rules and practicing it. We're doing it. We're learning how to track animals, we're learning how to understand bird language by doing it, not by talking about it and just practicing exercise. We're doing it. And so I started using a lot of his approach and a lot of his exercises to help me and other people get better at music. And then I just thought, I want to do this on a grander scale. And another friend of mine, a great violinist named Mark O'Connor.
Right.
He was doing what he called fiddle camps. And basically it was camps for violinists, mostly bluegrass or jazz or Texas swing.
Right.
But they'd sit out in the woods and just play fiddle. And I thought, man, I want to do this for bass players. And at the time, nobody was doing that. No one that I could find, not for bass players. So eventually in the year 2000, I rented the same place that Mark was using, a wonderful state park just outside of Nashville. I rented the same place and we held our first bass/nature camp. And me understanding the benefit of nature, I had the intention of having a nature instructor, and I was able to gather up one of Tom Brown's nature instructors that I had learned under and invited him to come to my music camp, my bass camp, and teach some of the nature stuff. And people just lit up from it. They just loved it. I mean, they got it. And I said, we got to keep doing this. So we've been doing it every year now. Now we have our own location, which you mentioned, called Wooten Woods, just a little west of Nashville. We have our own location, 150 acres on the beautiful Duck River. And now we don't just do our bass camp every year. We do camps just about every month from April through October. And every month it's a different topic, a different camp. And some months we do, multiple camps. I think we have 4 in August this year. We'll have 4 or 5 camps. All different topics, all instruments,
wow.
Singers, dancers. We do some camps where you don't even have to be a musician to come.
Wow.
But we just want to help people grow and learn to love themselves again.
Let me ask you this. What are the kids like that come to your camps? Are they kids that are just love music? Are they kids that are outgoing? Are they kids that, have you met kids that were quiet, that have been bullied? What kind of kids have you met there that's really impacted your life, I guess?
Well, all types. And some of the kids are in their 70s.
Whoa.
So, we say the word camp and we think kids.
Yeah, you're right.
Because adults don't go to camps, right? And we should.
Right.
We should. So most of our camps are ages 15 and up. And so we get a lot of people. So far, our oldest being 74. Now, we have teachers that are older than 74.
Right.
But our oldest student so far has been 74. But again, we get all ages. We do just a few camps that allow students under 15 to attend.
Right. But
we do them. But most of them are 15 and up. So we get a lot of adults. And but of all types. There's no criteria that you have to pass before you can come. We'll take anybody. We've had musicians who had just started playing. We had one woman, beautiful woman, who came just because her son was supposed to come. She had already paid for it.
Right.
And for some reason, her son had to change something and couldn't come. Since she had paid for it, she got his bass.
Right.
And came.
Right.
And fell in love with it. She ended up buying her own bass. She's coming back. She's been to at least 3, maybe 4 camps now. And she's doing it. She just fell in love with the whole process, everything about it. So that's to say we get all types, and we love it. There's no criteria you have to pass to come.
Wow.
You just have to be, of the right age. Because, certain camps we don't want to babysit.
Right.
But there's some camps maybe we do. So we once it gets below age 15, we do camps for that age group. We bring in certain instructors that understand that age group and things like that. But I will say this: our camps are very different.
Right.
And that's why people love them, because they've never experienced anything like it. But I understand that they may not be for everybody.
Well, your websites are really informative and really detailed. So, I mean, they can get a really good idea on what it's all consists of. I until about a year and a half ago, not to get off on a different topic, but about a year and a half ago, I was promoting the Nashville Ribbon Jazz Festival downtown, and until about a year and a half ago, and then because I was actually commuting back and forth from West Virginia to Nashville, doing the festivals and doing school assemblies, and I came across, I think this was probably, I think it was my second festival there, and I had Paul Brown and he had his group, and the bass player that was using was Vale Johnson, and
nice,
yeah, and he's from Nashville, and matter of fact,
he is now,
he actually is on my upcoming CD, and he is a top-notch guy, and I tell you what, the bass and the drums is just like. I just can talk to people that play the bass and drums and just listen to it. It's just I'm more attracted to that. Of course, I play the flugelhorn and trumpet, but the bass. But anyway, what I was getting at, I came across a YouTube video. We do a Chocolate Jazz radio program, and the promoter or the producer brought me across this video that you did, and what song was that? Was Amazing Grace or something? No, I forgot what it was, man. But it was, we were just looking at each other like, this guy's totally unreal. But anyway, listen, I was reading online about bullying, and I spent a lot of my time going into schools, fighting against bullying and talking about making right choices, and I saw where there's sibling bullying. Is more prevalent in large families. And now I know that you are the youngest in 5 boys. I'm actually the second to the youngest in 7 kids. And honestly, I don't remember getting bullied. But when you're in a family of 5 brothers, what was it like being the youngest? I mean, I know that, back in the day, Victor, I honestly don't remember the word bullying. I remember picking on and teasing. But what was it like being the youngest of 5 boys?
In our family, for me, it was the best ever.
Really?
My brothers always held me up the highest, and they still do. My parents, there's no way they would have allowed bullying or even talking bad to each other. We weren't even allowed to argue. We could have discussions. The discussions could get heated.
Right.
But as soon as we started trying to prove that we were right, just for the sake of being right, Mom would step in and put an end to it. There was no way our parents would allow us to fight, argue, or bully. It just didn't happen. And my older brothers, though, they really and continue to hold me on their up high on their shoulders. I can't imagine the situation, but I know for a fact that if we only had enough food for one child, they would have made sure I got the food. That's the way they are. Yeah. And I do know now, growing up, I realize all families aren't that way.
No.
Because I get that comment a lot. Oh, you're the youngest of 5. You must have got beat up all the time. You must have never got to eat because, And I'm like, no, that's totally the opposite.
Right. Right.
So I may not have had the normal upbringing, but I did have the one that everyone deserves and everyone should have had.
Right.
So I know I didn't go through that bullying thing, not from them, through some of their friends maybe.
Right.
Because being a young kid, I got to hang with my older brothers. They never treated me as the young kid.
Right.
They treated me as an equal. So some of their friends might try to pick on me and things like that. But even my brothers wouldn't allow it to last.
Let me ask you this, since we're on that topic. When you were going to school, did things come easy for you, or did you have to work hard to get through school?
Some things did not come easy for me. Math, things like that. Now, artistic things, drawing, art, dance, acting, sports, that came like unbelievably easy.
Right.
But some of the academic things, even English and things like that,
right,
they weren't always easy for me. But a lot of it was because I wasn't interested in it.
Right.
And so, it was my mom usually was the one helping us with homework and stuff. And she would teach us, you don't have to be interested in it to do a good job.
Right.
Life is not only stuff you're interested in. You have to, a good student does good in everything, not just the stuff they like.
Let me ask you this. I'm not to interrupt you.
Sure, man.
And when of course, now, did you go to a school like on the base, or did you go to a private school or public school?
Public school.
Okay. Do you remember seeing anybody getting bullied, or were you bullied at all, or your brothers bullied at all?
Oh yeah, definitely saw it. And I could not help myself from stepping in whenever I saw it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen it a lot growing up.
Yeah. Victor, I share this statistic so many times, but they say that 85% of all the bullying that takes place, there's no intervention. And I was thinking, well, okay, is this what's going on here? Is it the parents aren't stepping in? Is it the administration, the teachers? And what's happening is that a lot of when kids get bullied, they're not letting the parents know, they're not letting the teachers know, and then the kids that actually see the bullying takes place, they're not doing anything. And I think one of the things, and I'm not approving them not doing anything. I think honestly is that they want to do something, but it's just like in the moment, and they're thinking, okay, what do I do? What happens if I, intervene? But very few people actually, when they see somebody getting bullied, they turn their back and they sort of walk away. But for you to see somebody getting bullied and stepping in, I mean that says a lot. Do you think? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do I think what?
Did you see more physical bullying or verbal bullying in school, or?
A little bit of both.
Oh, really?
A little bit of both. Yeah, we live in an age now of lawsuits and everybody has guns, and so it is a different age, and it is a different mindset that we have these days. And I can understand why people more likely would not want to step in.
Right.
But as a kid, I couldn't help it. And it was mainly because I knew what it felt like to get picked on. Which even though it rarely happened, by some of my older friends, I just knew, no, I don't like that.
Right.
And nobody deserves it. But also, my mom and dad were that way. They didn't like it either. So you have to remember, my mom and dad, born in the 30s.
Right.
They grew up in heavy racial time.
Right.
So they're used to getting picked on. They're used to their whole country looking down on them and making fun of them. And so they fought. They were from the era where you fought for your rights. You know who you are. And not only do you fight for your rights, but you fight for other people's rights. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Right. That was one of the quotes we had to memorize as a kid. And so we understood that life was bigger than just us. We kind of live in a it's just me type of society, even talking about music.
Right.
To listen to music, I put my earphones in and I listen by myself. I don't download the person's whole record. I download the one song I like. That's the society that we live in, and I understand it.
Right.
But my parents and us, we grew up that, like they say, it takes a village. That's our mentality.
Right.
And if you're picking on somebody over there, you're picking on me too.
Yeah.
And I can't let you get away with it. And I still have that instinct to this day, but I understand why people don't.
Right.
And yes, physical and mental bullying. And now it's unbelievable that you can have, cyberbullying on the internet.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just like a whole nother level.
Yeah. Let me, do you have 2 or 3 kids?
4.
You have 4 kids. Okay. Girls, how many girls? 2 girls?
2 girls, 2 boys.
Okay. Do they go to public school?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? No. Let me change it.
Okay.
They were homeschooled most of their lives. My oldest daughter, Kyla's 22. She just graduated NYU, so
nice.
She was homeschooled. Thank you. She was homeschooled through 12th grade. So she was totally homeschooled up until college. My next son will be 19 tomorrow. Adam was homeschooled up until high school. My wife Holly did not like the high school version that we were using.
Public school.
She didn't like the high school homeschooled version, so she said we got to find something different for our son Adam. And so she found a great private school, University School of Nashville.
Okay.
And so when she put my oldest son in there, she put my daughter Ariana and our other younger son Cameron in there also. So all of them are in a private school right now.
Okay. Now, have any of them experienced any type of bullying at all?
As far as I know, not so much to them,
right.
But they have seen it in other people.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I want to go ahead and talk to you a little bit more about your life and being on the road. And you said that you were actually with Béla Fleck and the Flecktones since they conceived. When you guys go on tour, can you tell me the morning that you wake up and you go on tour with Béla Fleck and the Flecktones? What is it like? I mean, do you get a driver taking you from there to the airport, and you get from that point on? I mean, tell me what your day's like.
Well, it depends on when the tour starts or where it's starting from. So if I'm at home and the tour is starting, it's usually my wife driving me to the tour bus.
Okay.
All right, and we usually leave at midnight. So we get on the tour bus, load up whatever gear I have. I might even help them. We load up at a place where we store all of our gear. So,
okay.
We may have to unload all the gear from the storage and put it in the trailer of the bus. I definitely have to put my suitcase under the bus, any other bags I want with me in the bus, right. Instruments. Kiss my wife, goodbye, and I'll see you in a few weeks. And then we hit the road. We sleep through the night, wake up at the next city, get up, have some breakfast, go to sound check, dinner, and then a show. So
you have been on tour pretty much all your life. I mean, Victor, how did you even juggle, being a dad and being a husband and being on tour like that?
Sure. Well, I had to learn how to juggle it being a dad, because when we first had our first child, Kyla, Holly would tour with us a lot. My wife would bring the baby and we'd go on tour.
Okay.
But then, and because she was homeschooled, we could do that for a while. Then we had 2 kids, they could still come. But when we started getting 3 kids, now the older kids are playing soccer and all this kind of stuff. They have their own lives.
Sure.
So being on tour wasn't as easy,
Right.
So
do you ever feel, have you ever felt guilty, like thinking, gosh,
yes,
man,
yes, all the time. And that's what I was going to say is now when the kids can speak, they're starting to say, well, Dad, how long are you home this time? Or Dad, when do you have to leave again?
Right.
And that's a dagger in your heart, because I'm touring to make money so they can have the life they have, and so that mom can stay home and not have to work outside of the house. Mm-hmm. But I can tell, that's one of the first things on their mind when they see me is, how long are you home?
Yeah.
And it's still that way. And I've been on tour almost like every month of these kids' lives.
Yeah.
And that's hard,
I've of course, not nearly or close to the extent of your fame and career, but I've been on the road as a full-time musician for 20 years, and that's what we did. Is my wife and I agreed, okay, if I'm going to be on the road, first of all, she let me do what I love to do, and that's play music and travel. Of course, a lot of my stuff is the school assemblies and a lot of churches type of thing, and So anyway, but that was something that we agreed on, and there's been so many times when now that my kids, my daughter now is living in Nashville. She has a good job down there. My son is getting his master's in accounting, going down to Nashville. And it looks like if we move at all, we'll probably be moving down there, probably around in the summer, which is great. But there's these, this guilt that overcomes us, and my wife is really good about saying, listen, this is something we agreed. I saw everything. And so I'm not, it's, I don't feel as bad, but
Yes.
do you think that traveling is getting harder as you get older?
In which way harder?
It's just like, are you so tired and exhausting, and it's like, oh gosh, man, I got to get back on the road. I got to get back on the bus. I had to get back in the hotel rooms. And
yes and no. And what I mean that is, like, I'm 55 now. I don't know, when I started with the Flecktones, I don't know how, in my 20s or something.
Right.
So I definitely feel it on my body. But the thing that hits me the most is missing my family. That's the biggest thing. If I wasn't married, happily married with 4 wonderful kids, I'd probably, be like Willie Nelson or B.B. King and just tour and until I die. I love it.
Right.
I get paid to travel the world to make people happy.
Yeah, I know you do.
Doing stuff I love. That's amazing. It's like a paid vacation.
Right.
And I love that, but I miss my kids, and I know they miss me. And, and then there's just like the normal parenting things that Holly, has to handle at home, and I've got to handle over the phone,
Right. Well,
So, yeah, that part gets harder because the kids are getting older, and, and they're just used to me being away every month, and that's not fun.
Right. I have a few more minutes, and what I want to do, Victor, if it's all right with you, I have some questions that I've got off from social media from people that knows about this interview, and
Okay.
you can answer them short, answers, and then we'll go ahead and just wrap this up.
Okay.
The first one is, how much do you practice now versus when you started?
I don't practice as that much at all.
Right.
And I hate to even say that to people, but let me put it in this way.
You don't need to.
Like, when I hear you speak English,
Yeah.
you speak very clearly.
Right.
And let's say I want to be an English speaker, and you interview, you're clear and articulate.
Right.
If I were to say, David, man, you're such a good speaker, English speaker, how much did you practice when you were a kid versus how much you practice now?
Nice.
You have to think and say, well, I didn't really practice.
Right.
And you don't have to practice English because you have so many opportunities to speak it.
Right. Good.
So
Gosh,
your
Victor.
practice is doing it.
Victor, I'm telling you, man, you're really amazing me, man. I mean, you're a smart guy and can carry conversation, and I can understand you. Some of these other musicians, they're smoking weed. I can't understand them. Okay, next question. What bass player or artist influenced you?
But hold on.
Okay.
Let me clarify this, though, because I don't want people thinking, you don't have to practice. Victor Wooten says he doesn't.
Yeah.
I grew, you know what? The same way you grew up in an English-speaking family,
Right.
So you speak English clearly.
Right.
Not through practice, not even through trying.
Right.
But you, to use a musical term, you were allowed to jam as a baby from birth. You were allowed to jam with the pros. Right?
Dude.
In other words, when you were a baby, you weren't put in a beginning speaking class. You can only talk to babies until you work up to the intermediate level. No, you spoke to everyone. And you were never treated as a beginner. So I had that musically.
Man, you're going...
No one ever told me I was a beginner. I thought I was as good as anybody else. Right? So I've always done it. I was born into doing it. So no, I didn't have to practice it all the time. I did it all the time.
Golly, man, you just blow me away, Victor.
So I understand that thank you first. I understand that not everybody else has that.
Right.
So yeah, you need to practice. If I want to learn Spanish, I need to practice.
Okay.
Unless I can move into a Spanish-speaking family, then it's different, right?
That's right. Okay.
So, I didn't practice that much. I played a lot.
Okay. So what bass player or artist influenced you as a musician?
Many. It'd be harder to think which ones didn't.
Okay.
Because people are influencing you whether you know it or not. Right?
Yeah.
We speak English the way we do because of people thousands of years ago living in England or wherever. They influence us whether we know it or not. But the answer people really want are people like Stanley Clarke, Marcus Miller, Jaco Pastorius, Chuck Rainey, Carol Kay, Bob Babbitt, Lee Sklar. But those are just bass players.
Right.
But my influences go way beyond that. So I played bass because of what my parents taught me. They didn't play bass at all.
Now, Victor, has David Wells influenced you all at all?
Of course. No, but think about it. Think about what you're doing.
Right.
You're creating a podcast about bullying.
Right.
That's influential.
Well,
right?
I appreciate
even
that.
if it makes me think, even just an inkling about bullying.
Right.
In other words, if I'm at the NAMM show, thousands of people millions of people going to be in this little small area. Right?
Right.
If I see, just because of your even reading the title of your podcast, even if I didn't talk to you and just read the title, if I see any kind of bullying, it's going to affect me. Whether I do anything about it or not, that name of that podcast is going to enter into my being and make me a little bit more aware.
Man.
That's powerful. So you're influencing people all the time. Everything you do, every breath you take is influencing something else all the time. So you're just doing it in a conscious way, right? You're doing it with intention and attention, and you're making others aware of it. So there's so many people who have influenced my life, right?
Right.
And your life. Well, music is about life. So anyone that influences your life, you should allow it to influence your music, and I do exactly that.
Wow. You mentioned Jaco. This next question is it's from the guy who produces this radio show, the jazz show. It said this is what he asked. Now this is going a little over my head, but anyway, he says looping has been a part of your repertoire for a long time. Now you're using a Roland loop station, but I remember back in the day when you were using the Digitech Jam Man, and it took me back to Jaco using his old MXR rack delays set on infinite repeat to do stuff like Hendrix's Third Stone from the Sun as part of his slang. So now he says, I was wondering how you arrived at deciding to incorporate looping into your bag. Did Jaco have an influence on with that?
Jaco was the number one influencer into my looping.
Wow.
And yes, he's absolutely right. As soon as I heard Jaco do it, I wanted to do it. I wanted to do everything I heard Jaco do. But Jaco wasn't the only one. There are many other musicians, not just bass players. But yes, when Jaco did it, I did the same thing. I got a digital delay. Well, first there were analog delays, and then when the digital delays came in, you could put an infinite hold on it and make it repeat infinitely, and those became our first looping pedals. And then because of people like Jaco and later on myself and people like Michael Manring, people actually started making looping pedals, and now the looping pedals are very advanced and making it easy for us musicians to perform music by ourselves. But yes, for me, it totally 100% started from Jaco Pastorius.
Okay, now these questions is like 5 of them. It's just like a one-word answer, and then we'll go ahead and just we'll wrap it up. What is your definition of success?
Success is at the risk of sounding egotistical, success is me. Success is where I stand right now. Success is not something that happens in the future, even though it might.
Right. But
I want to be successful where I am right now. So if I'm right now standing in my room and my bed is unmade, I make my bed. That's a success. If I have a used napkin on the table, I throw it away. I clean up the sink after I brush my teeth. So success are the little things that I have control over. And it's those little things that allow the big successes to come more effortlessly.
Good.
Most people, I can't say most people, a lot of people think success is in the future. And because we're looking ahead, we stumble over something that's right in front of us. Where if we take care of everything that's right in front of us, I learned it as a phrase called, if you win the day, take care of today, and then tomorrow will come to you, right?
Right.
So the main thing for me is doing everything I can right where I am to be successful. And things like making my bed, cleaning up after myself, saying please, saying thank you. Things like that allow me to make success my habits.
Nice.
So I literally have a habit of being successful. But most of my successfuls to anyone else would appear very small. I made my bed today.
Right.
You know, things like that. But it's the little bricks that hold up the big building.
Wow.
So we need to be aware and pay attention to the little things. And then success becomes you. That's just who you are.
Right. Wow. What's one word that best describes you, Victor?
I mean, I don't know that there's one, but maybe just me. You know, I'm the best me there is.
And see, Victor, you're going, man. You're really going deep on me, man. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just so much knowledge, man.
Well,
I can use these things that you actually talk about on my school assemblies.
Sure, I hope so.
Okay,
I hope so. But you know, I mean, I think that's the best thing I can think of. Me, that's the truest thing. Is I'm the best me there is. You know, I could say, well, I'm helpful, but am I really helpful to everyone? No.
Right.
I'm honest. Would everyone think I am? No. I'm a good bass player. Well, there's other people that are better, or you know. So for me, the best thing I can say about me is I'm me.
Okay, the last question. What is one of your biggest pet peeves?
Oh, let's see. Biggest pet peeve.
Now, this could be in your family. This could be in your band.
Yeah. I gotta think. That's a good question. Biggest pet peeve. Well, I don't know my biggest one, but here's one I will say that I don't enjoy. I understand it, but I don't enjoy it. Is people telling me, man, I love the way you play. Man, it makes me want to quit. I'm going to throw my bass away. Right? People say that as a compliment, and I understand that, but that's not a good compliment.
Yeah.
Right? You don't hear a good speaker and you say, man, you speak so well, I'm going to quit talking.
Yeah,
right?
I can see that.
I want to inspire you. I want to inspire you to play. I want to play so well that it makes you want to do it.
Yeah.
Not quit.
That's nice.
Right?
Nice.
I miss the point if I make when you want to quit. So, you know, I mean, and I know no one even believes that when they say it. So I say it, don't say it.
Right.
So that's one of them.
Well, Victor, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Is it through social media or is it on your website?
Social media or my website, but social media is even more immediate. I get so much junk mail on my website, but social media, I try to get to all my messages and I try to answer them.
You do, man. Seriously, even when I send you emails, it's just like it takes you for days. But I mean, on social media, it's just like good grief, you reply within 24 hours. You know.
Right. The emails, I have to weed through so much junk mail.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I mean, you know, it's amazing. There's so much of it. And I get tired of it. I'm just deleting junk mail, and then I get tired and forget that there's a real email in there. But social media, I see those more immediately, and I don't answer all of them because some of them don't need to be answered.
Right.
But if there's something pertinent, I'll try to get to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all we have for the Bully Resistance Show with David Wells. Before we go, I want to let you know that there's ways that you can help me fight against bullying. As I mentioned before, you can actually share the show with Victor Wooten on social media, either your Facebook page, Instagram, and this is a way that we can bring awareness against bullying. Now, secondly, if you haven't subscribed to the Bully Resistance Show, it doesn't cost you anything. Just go to my website at www.davebond.org. And then thirdly, of course, you can be a monthly supporter as low as $5 per month, which is just a specialty coffee at Starbucks. And then, of course, in return, we will go ahead and send you my track of the week and also a once-a-month digital download of my CD of the month. Just go to my website at www.davebond.org and click on the Patreon banner. So until next time, thanks for listening.